going on, everybody? Coach William Grazione here. Thank you guys so much for joining me this beautiful Wednesday morning here in my garage. I actually just wrapped up training a client this morning, which was one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video. So I've worked with a lot of people in the past, and oftentimes when I include a repetition cadence on one of their training programs, the first question that they ask is, what are all the numbers? Like, what are all the repetition cadence numbers? So repetition cadence, there's 4 numbers. For those of you who aren't aware, what this video is going to be about is these 4 numbers, what they mean, and how you can implement them into your training program. So first and foremost, let's just go ahead and start out by addressing the fact of why this is even important. Oftentimes, what do you usually see in the gym with a lot of resistance trainees? There's typically no control, and they're always trying to utilize some type of momentum to actually continue to keep the weight moving. Now what you're going to notice, even if somebody's doing like a standard bicep curl like I've drawn up here, you guys can see this is the arm, elbow, and the hand here. So shoulder, elbow, wrist. You know, there's oftentimes a lot of swinging happening there. You're going to see in the gym is a lot of individuals trying to utilize momentum to push their weight, to move the load. Oftentimes, too many people are far too connected to the number on the end of a dumbbell or the number of plates they have on the squat rack, and this actually negatively impacts your ability to execute the movement pattern. Now, why is that? Because you're focusing too much on how much weight you're trying to lift. So your overall intention is only on how many pounds do I have on the bar, and then how can I actually lift this weight. It's not about what muscles am I utilizing to lift this weight, or can I recruit the most amount of muscle fiber that possible to be able to lift this weight. It's always just, can I pick this up? Can I put this down? Can I sit down with this weight on my back? And can I stand up? But let's take a deeper look into this and further analyze your specific body type and who you may be. Most of the time, what you're going to come across is guys in the gym that are doing a bench press and they're just throwing the weight off their chest. Probably something similar to what you've seen in the NFL Combine. Granted, a lot of those guys are very muscular. There's absolutely zero control of that weight. And because they're utilizing so much speed, so much momentum, they're really only utilizing the muscle through a very short piece of that range of motion. The other piece that they're moving through is essentially being carried by momentum or sheer force, because there's so much boom, boom, boom explosiveness off their chest that the bar just kind of continues to raise. Now, they utilize 225 pounds in the NFL Combine. So if you think about it, they're probably feeling more than 225 here because that weight's slamming down on their chest. They're probably feeling closer to 250, 275. But up here, it's almost weightless, okay? We're gonna talk about going more into detail on that in a different video. But this one, the reason I bring this up is because if we could actually establish a repetition cadence on things like, ladies, like your glute bridges, on your RDLs, on a guy's bench press, on a guy's pull-up, if we could actually utilize rep cadence, you'd be able to better recruit your muscle fibers without necessarily having to adjust the weight on the bar. But what I can tell you is that chances are you're probably going to have to decrease your weight initially to make this investment in yourself, make this investment in your training, so that you can further understand how to actually squeeze and contract your muscles and how to utilize a proper range of motion, but also learn how to utilize a repetition cadence within that range of motion. So let's go ahead and explore this a little bit. What does the first number mean? The first number within a repetition cadence is always going to be the eccentric phase. Now, an eccentric phase is basically the loading phase or the stretching phase of an exercise. So as an example, I have a guy here, he's jacked, he's got a dumbbell in his hand. The eccentric phase is going to be the first number. If the dumbbell was up here, it's going to be how controlled can you lower this dumbbell back to the starting position, which would be like right around there. All right, so first number is the eccentric load. How well can you control that weight through the stretch position? So thinking about this, I only want you to think kind of beyond what I'm telling you. I want you to think outside of that and say, okay, how can I translate this information to my deadlift or my squat or my overhead press, my tricep extension, my pull-up, my hip hinges, the glute bridges, the hamstring curls, leg extensions, calves. How can I translate this into every exercise? So the second number represents the midpoint, okay? So basically what the second number represents is how long am I gonna stay down here in that stretched out position before I initiate the concentric phase, okay? Now, this is just like a rest period, right? Like if I was a squat, it'd basically be this eccentric, and then how long am I staying at the bottom before I convert that to the concentric, okay? So number one is basically the transition. If you're at the bottom of a curl or at the bottom of a squat, how long am I gonna stay there before I actually go into my concentric phase, which is digit number 3. So concentric phase is digit number 3. Now the reason I have a 2 here is because if you really wanna learn how to utilize your muscles properly, in my opinion, this is probably one of the best repetition cadences that you could probably do. It would either be a 3-1-2-1 or a 3-1-3-1 because you are in a lot of control when you're eccentrically loading and when you're concentrically flexing your muscles. So as an example, guys, it would basically look like this person here having a 3-second down movement and then a 3-second up movement, okay? So how could you make an exercise harder than that? I mean, unless you did 4 seconds or more than that. But think about it. I am curling my bicep and I'm doing 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. I can guarantee you'll probably only be able to do half the normal amount of repetitions you're used to doing if you utilize that type of repetition cadence. And if you're somebody who has a hard time, quote unquote, feeling your muscles work, I would highly, highly recommend you guys try a 3-1-3-1 repetition cadence. And then for all of your clients, the individuals, for all of your clients or yourselves, the individuals who will tell you, I work my glutes out all the time, or I work my biceps out all the time, but I just can't feel the muscle. Like I feel like I can't flex it, or I feel like I can't, I don't have a good mind-muscle connection. Now, the mind-muscle connection is obviously important. So how can we take a step backwards and actually ingrain a proper mind-muscle connection? Take your time when you're lifting the weights. Now, I'm going to go into another video after this about why that's important, but take your time lifting the weights. Literally, like 1, 2, 3, stop, 1 second. 1, 2, 3, stop, 1 second. 1, 2, 3, stop, 1, up, 1, 2, 3. Try that on every exercise, and I can guarantee you, you will be able to, quote unquote, find your muscles. So, this last digit represents just, at the end of your concentric, are you gonna hold it, or are you going to just immediately go right back into an eccentric? So that's what I would recommend you guys try out. Now, this was just a really quick video on the importance of repetition cadence, what repetition cadence is, and how it can be directly applied.